So, I was thinking, after those last two videos, that I really needed a cigarette. I don't have any. But, I'm a grimy motherfucker. Came out to the old garbage, put some cigarettes together, and I pulled it off. I'm not ashamed of the things that I do. I'm not ashamed of who I am. I'm not ashamed of the things of my past. Because I recognize that my preconceived notions of who I was and what I thought was real and what I thought was right at the time was based on the experience that I had up until that point. Kind of like what I was saying before about opinions and all that other shit. Now, does it make me a gross person because I took two cigarettes and made them into one? And granted, this one was not even smoked out. It was just I burnt the filter. Oh my god, that is fucking divine. That is divine. I can definitely see why people like smoking. But I think of cigarettes kind of like what I think of like all other drugs. They're suppressants. They suppress feelings and thoughts and emotions and things we don't want to feel. Am I suppressing something with this? I don't know. I can feel the nicotine coursing through my veins, my brain. I can actually feel my thought processes change with this drag of the cigarette. Feels great. I feel like I can think a little bit better. I'm not so clouded, I'm not so angry. But was I really angry before? I don't think I was. Maybe it came off that way, but I feel strongly about my opinions. Because my opinions are my own truths. And I don't often get to talk to people about the things that I like to discuss, which is the way people think and the reason why we think the way that we do. What is that? Fucking mailman. That little yippy fucking dog is driving me nuts. but my point, aside from the yippy dog, is that my opinions are not popular, but it doesn't matter if they're popular. I feel the reason that they're not popular is because people don't like to think that they're wrong. Which comes back to what I was saying about the 4 magic words before. I could be wrong. And there's a fun exercise that I used to do with myself. Sorry, it's chicken salad. It's really good. I had like 4 sandwiches. Like I said, changing the past. Changing the past to reconcile who I was and what my preconceived notions of myself were. Preconceived notions that I was never wrong. Because I was like everybody else. The psychics who were not actually psychic. And even when I claim to know what people think nowadays, I've gotten into arguments where I'm told I live in my head a lot. I do. I live in my head because by living in my head, overanalyzing, overthinking, told overthinking is a bad thing too, but I don't see any problem with overthinking. I think overthinking is probably one of the best things that we could do with everything that's in our minds, because if we don't overthink it, then we can't see why we're wrong. Because I've been wrong so many times about so many things that it's good. It's good to be wrong. It's good to be mistaken. Because when you're wrong and when you're mistaken, that allows you to open up your mind to the possibility that there are better and different ways to go about doing the things that you have been wrong and mistaken about. But that goes back to what I was saying earlier about there being lessons to learn with everything that we do. Think of it like karma. People say that when you do bad things come back to you. Yes. Bad things come back to you when you don't recognize that you did the wrong thing last time. And not that, and I say the wrong thing, but I'm just using a popularized word for an experience in which we did not learn the lesson for. For instance, when you fuck up at something, we have regrets. I regret this. I regret meeting this person. I regret getting married. I regret having a child. I regret having that job. Why do you regret those things? I had a friend, Poison Ivy, we'll call her. She said something the other day, some little fucking post on Facebook about that there's nothing worse than knowing how something is going to end. To which I responded that that's not true. Well, at least for me it's not true. Because I look at it this way. If you know how something is going to end, then you know where it's going to end. And if you know where it's going to end, you might as well take advantage of this experience, this thing, while you still have it. Because here is something worse than not. Here is something worse than knowing how something is going to end an experience by not having that experience ever. Because if you never had the experience to begin with, you would never have learned the lesson that you need to learn. And that's karma. My definition of it is when you fail to recognize the lesson that you needed to learn from an experience, you'll notice that experience pops up in your life again. Maybe not as the same person, but maybe as a similar experience. We'll call it like a boyfriend. We'll say a boyfriend or a girlfriend, right? So you date this person and things end real shitty. and throughout your life you just keep on finding yourself in these relationships that just keep on going the same way over and over and over again. It's like this cycle that you go in. You start one cycle, it ends shitty just like the last one. Then next thing you know, you're back into another one that goes along into another cycle and ends shitty over and over and over and over and over again. And people complain, I always meet these type of men, I always meet these type of women, I always keep on going through the same thing. Well, the reason you keep on going through the same thing is because you're not learning the lesson that you were supposed to learn the first time. And when that situation pops its ugly head up again, you go through the same thing. Because you didn't learn how to get through it or get over it the first time. The point of these bad situations, and there's no such thing as bad or good is just a perception. Like I said the other day, perception is the reality of the person that is perceiving it. What's good for you is not good for me, and what's good for me is not good for you. Based on our perceptions, based on our experiences, based on our realities. But when you can learn the lesson of that experience, so for instance, I was married, as I was saying, and the reason my marriage failed was because of poor communication. Poor communication on both ends. But that poor communication was a self-perpetuating cycle that the two of us kept on putting ourselves into. We would both try to communicate at the wrong time when the person was not ready. Learning that, understanding that, accepting that, has now put me in a mental position that the next time I'm in that situation, perhaps with the same woman, perhaps with a new woman, I can now make that experience not end the same way, because now I know the importance of expressing my emotions and communicating the way that I feel, because I recognize I could be wrong about the things I think, because the things I think are just based off of the things that are inside my head, which are based off of previous experiences. And I'm putting those experiences on other people, and I'm putting my own personal experiences onto other people, and I'm judging other people based on what I think I would be doing in their position. Just like you do. Just like everybody does. But I recognize that I do those things. You see, I've been learning the lessons. A lot of what I do is I reconcile my past, and I try to recognize the things that I used to do and why I did them and why I thought the way that I did, why I had these preconceived notions of who people were and who I was and why I would do the things I would do to the people because of the things that they would do to me. You all know what it was doing anything to me. I was doing it to them and projecting myself onto them, which in my eyes made it seem as though they were doing the things that I thought they were doing. Meanwhile, they probably were not. And if they were, fuck, maybe I'm psychic. It's possible. I don't discount anything. I believe in karma. I believe in mysticism. So why is it not possible that I could potentially be reading someone's mind the right way? But I like to analyze people. I like to watch them. I like to see what they do. I like to see how they act. I like to see what your character is. I like to see who you are. People don't really like to share too much, though. That's why you have to leave a lot of things up to presumptions and to say some things. I met this girl recently, and I thought we had hit it off fairly well. I thought. So, I thought it would be best for me to behave in a way in which that I don't normally behave, to be open, to be vulnerable, to say things that came to my mind. We didn't talk for about a week after I said something. I forget what it was. I think I wanted to, I wrote like a note for this person. I wanted to read it to them because I felt that text is the worst form of communication because it doesn't really transfer the thought behind what's being said, because we all have our own way of saying things. We all use different words to express the same thing, but when we encounter someone who does not use the same vocabulary as we do, then we take it the way that we would based off our own personal meanings of what those words mean. Goes back to something I like to say. The words are magic. That's why it's called spelling, because we cast spells on people with the words that we use. The problem is, not everyone has the same definition for the words that we use to express the things that we personally like to express. So people take things the wrong way. They come up with their own conclusions and their own assumptions based off what they think they heard, because nobody actually listens to the whole thing that comes out of your mouth. Not always. It's very rare that people take the time to analyze and think about what you say. And granted, I understand that that's based off of the fact that we all as individuals have our own issues that we deal with, and adding new data to our preconceived systems kind of sends a shockwave through and fucks everything up. Makes them scarier than they really need to be, because we are afraid to ask the question. What is the question? Why? Why did you say that? Why do you feel this way? Why are you acting the way that you're acting? Fucking hell, I love these things. The only reason I really want to quit is because my father died of lung cancer and I look like an asshole when I smoke. But I love smoking. I really do. I know it makes my throat all fucked up. But, regardless. Where was I going? I hate when that happens. So we need to really start asking ourselves, do we really know what the other person is thinking? Do we really know what the intentions of the other person is? I try to make sure that I try to do that. I try to put my intentions out there to people, but I do it through text, through writing. Sometimes people don't get the writing the way that they should, or the way that it's intended. Everybody perceives it the way that they should. They just may not perceive it the way in which that I was trying to portray it, if that makes sense. So I'm going to pause this real quick and I'll be right back.